We're going to start off by working with rotation. Now, before we get started, I want you to visualize something. I want you to think of a flat two-dimensional card with a string running through the middle that fixes it in place. By taking the top corners of your fingers, you can move the card up and down or left and right, and forwards and backwards, pivoting it around the string. This is kind of what the rotate function does. We're going to be looking at the individual rotate functions, rotate X, rotate Y, and rotate Z. They all take degrees as the argument in the value, and the movement around its point of origin, that's kind of where the string passes through. In my HTML, I've created a div with a class of wrap. Inside it is a div with a class of box, and you can see it says I'm a box, just so we have some text inside it. I've specified some CSS, font family sans serif on the body. On the wrap element, I have a width and height and a margin, a background color of gray, a darker gray border, a border radius of 5, and a box shadow. We're not seeing the wrap element because the box element is currently directly in front of it. The box element has a teal color at 60% opacity. It has a blue border, a border radius. I've turned the box sizing to border box so that the padding doesn't get added into the overall width and height, and I'm text aligning center. Let's begin by adding a transform of rotate X. I'm going to come into the box element, and we're going to use our transform property, and we're going to use rotate X, and in the parentheses I'll pass on 45 degrees. If we save this and we look in the browser and refresh, you can see what happens. It kind of looks like the box is being squished down vertically. Now I'm going to open up my developer tools so I can really show you what this looks like. Inside my developer tools, I'm going to target the box element, and I'm going to come into the transform rotate X value. Here, I'll just go ahead and I'll make some changes to the box just to show you what's happening. As I increase these numbers, you can see how the box element looks as it's squishing down. But if you keep your eye on the text, you're going to see how it's actually tilting the box element so that it's laying flat. When I get to 90 degrees, what's going to happen is the element disappears. It's as if it's a piece of paper and now it's completely flat. If I continue to go past 90 degrees, I've now flipped the element over. So think about that card that we were talking about earlier. If you're looking at the card straight on so that you see the text on the card, and then you turn the card 90 degrees, it would be laying flat towards you. And really, it would get very thin. If you turned it over, you would start to see the back side of the card. And this is what's happening. You can see with the text is now inverse. And if I continue to go past 180 degrees, it's going to start flipping around again. So it's as if this is spinning vertically towards us as I increase or decrease these numbers. Now what we'll do is we'll change this and we'll have it rotate around the y-axis. I'm going to change this to rotate y, and again we'll just leave it at 45 degrees to start with. Back in the browser, I'm going to refresh, and now you can see it looks as if the box has been squished horizontally. If I go ahead and start to increase the amount of degrees, you can see it continues to get thinner and thinner. And again, this time, if you're looking at the card and holding it, you would be rotating it along that y-axis. So at some point, when I get to 90 degrees, it's going to disappear, and then it's going to twirl around again, and now we'll see the back side of it. It's as if it's twirling around along that y-axis. So it's spinning on the vertical y-axis as I change these values around. The final rotation value that we're going to be looking at is the Z rotation. And again, I'll just start off at 45 degrees. If we come back to the browser and we refresh, you can see now that the box element is turned at a 45 degree angle. So this time, as I increase the amount of degrees, it looks like this is rotating in a more two-dimensional way. But what's happening is it's rotating along that z-axis, the one that's coming towards you. So if you think of your card and you think of the string going straight through the middle, and you would just put your finger on the edge of the card and spin it around clockwise or counterclockwise if you use negative numbers. That's what's happening to the element. So in this way, you can see how the rotate in the X, Y, and Z axes are going to work. Note that when we rotate in X and Y, we get results that almost look like the element is being scaled or squished down, but really you can think of it as turning along either that horizontal or vertical plane.